E. The first time I met Marcus, he was fixing his car in his driveway. His strong, steady hands moved with precision, and his confidence was almost tangible. I had just moved into the neighborhood, a single woman looking for a fresh start after a messy divorce. He waved at me that day, his smile warm and genuine, and I waved back, feeling a strange flutter in my chest. At first, our interactions were casual. Polite greetings, small talk about the weather, or the occasional wave when we passed each other on the street. But as weeks turned into months, those small moments began to shift into something more. It started innocently enough. Marcus helping me carry groceries into the house or offering to fix a leaky faucet when he overheard me complaining about it. He was kind, attentive, and always seemed to know when I needed help, even before I asked. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow across the neighborhood, Marcus knocked on my door. I wasn't expecting him, and the surprise must have shown on my face because he chuckled softly, holding up a plate of freshly grilled steaks. "Thought you might like some dinner. It's just me tonight. And I've got too much food," he said, his voice rich and smooth. I hesitated for a moment but then nodded, stepping aside to let him in. We ate together at my kitchen table, the conversation flowing easily. He told me about his job as a contractor, his love for classic cars, and his dream of traveling the world someday. I shared bits of my own life, my failed marriage, and my hopes for a fresh start. By the end of the evening, it felt like we'd known each other for years. After that night, things between us changed. Marcus became a constant presence in my life, mowing my lawn when I was too busy, bringing over dinner when he'd cooked too much, and sitting with me on my porch as we sipped sweet tea and watched the stars. The connection between us grew stronger. The air around us charged with an undeniable chemistry that neither of us acknowledged aloud. One rainy afternoon, I found myself in Marcus's garage. My car wouldn't start, and he'd offered to take a look at it. As he worked under the hood, I stood nearby, trying to ignore the way my pulse quickened every time he glanced in my direction. His shirt was damp from the rain, clinging to his broad shoulders, and I couldn't help but notice the way his muscles shifted with every movement. "There," he said finally, wiping his hands on a rag. "Should be good to go now. Try starting it." I slid into the driver's seat and turned the key. The engine roared to life and I let out a relieved laugh. "Thank you, Marcus. I don't know what I'd do without you." He leaned against the car door, his eyes locking onto mine. "You're stronger than you think," he said softly, "but I'll always be here if you need me." Something in his voice sent a shiver down my spine, and for a moment the world around us seemed to fade away. I stepped out of the car, standing just inches away from him. "Marcus," I began. My voice barely above a whisper, but I didn't know what to say. The words seemed to catch in my throat. He reached out, his hand brushing against my cheek. "Tell me to stop," he said, his voice low and filled with a tension that mirrored my own. I didn't. Instead, I closed the distance between us, my lips meeting his in a kiss that was both desperate and tender. It was as if all the longing, all the unspoken feelings we'd been holding back erupted in that single moment. His arms wrapped around me, pulling me closer, and I felt a fire ignite within me that I hadn't felt in years. When we finally pulled away, both of us were breathless. I don't know if this is a good idea," I admitted, my heart pounding in my chest. "Maybe not," he said, his thumb gently stroking my cheek. "But it feels right." From that moment on, there was no going back. Marcus and I began seeing each other in secret. Our stolen moments filled with passion and intensity, but as our relationship deepened, so did my guilt. I knew that the neighbors would talk if they found out. Our small community wasn't exactly known for its open-mindedness, and the thought of being the subject of gossip made my stomach churn. One night, as we lay tangled in each other's arms, I voiced my concerns. What if people find out about us? What if they judge us? Marcus propped himself up on one elbow, looking down at me with a serious expression. Let them talk, he said. We know what we have is real. That's all that matters. His words comforted me, but the fear lingered. And then one day, my worst fears were realized. A neighbor spotted Marcus leaving my house early one morning and wasted no time spreading the news. Whispers and sideways glances followed me wherever I went, and I could feel the judgment in every interaction. I tried to ignore it, but the weight of their scrutiny became unbearable. I began pulling away from Marcus, avoiding his calls and making excuses not to see him. It broke my heart to do so, but I convinced myself it was for the best. I couldn't handle the pressure, the gossip, the looks of disapproval. Weeks passed, and the emptiness I felt without Marcus grew unbearable. I missed his laugh, his touch, the way he made me feel alive. One evening, as I sat alone on my porch, I saw him standing at the edge of my driveway. He didn't say a word, just looked at me with a mix of longing and sadness. Marcus, I called out, my voice breaking. He walked toward me, and before I knew it, I was in his arms again, tears streaming down my face. I don't care what they think, I said, my voice trembling. I can't do this without you. He cupped my face in his hands. His eyes filled with determination. Then don't, we'll face it together. And we did. The road wasn't easy, but our love proved stronger than the judgment and prejudice we faced. Marcus taught me that sometimes, the greatest risks lead to the most rewarding outcomes. He showed me what it meant to truly live, to love without fear, and to embrace the happiness we all deserve. No matter what others may think,